get started. We have a lot to cover. We're here with Brody Sutherland of Tocvan Ventures. Tocvan has had an amazing 2025 so far, and we are super excited to hear all the updates from Brody. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. We're going to cover those at the end. So as we're going throughout the presentation, any questions you have, feel free to throw those there, and we'll cover them at the end. Without further ado, Brody, you want to take it away?
Perfect. Thank you, Brittany, and thank you everyone for your time today. Obviously we've been on a long journey to build up where we are today, but I think what we're starting to see is real growth potential based on not only what we're seeing in our Grand Pilar project, but the general market itself. And really to kind of rewind and recap, what Tocvan and why we created it. We started the company in 2019 with the thesis that gold was undervalued, that there were quality advanced gold assets out there that were underappreciated, forgotten about, and we wanted to find those and move those forward. And when we started assessing projects out there in 2019, we came across Pilar in Sonora, Mexico. We loved the potential of it. It had a fantastic history to it, being discovered by the Lundins in 1996. We knew from the onset that in order to make it work, we needed to expand our land position around it. And in effect, last year, we were able to do that. And I think now we're starting to see the real growth potential of the company as we continue to advance the asset. This is going to be an exciting year for us. We've been actively drilling since December. We're now going through the permitting process for our pilot mine on site, and that's how we want to differentiate ourselves. We do not want to be a pure explorer. We want to be a company that can take this project through development as we explore and expand it. So that's really the opportunity that we're looking to present. And I think it's been a great start of the year as we've shown a clear turnaround in our share price and the value that we present. In February, we did a financing. We closed 3.1 million Canadian, priced at 48 cents. We've now shown stability here at 70 cents. We've got 5 million Canadian of warrants that are in the money. Those are priced at 50 and 60 cents. The 60-cent warrants expire later this year. Over the past month, we've seen over $400,000 worth of those warrants be exercised, both priced at 50 and 60 cents. So that's been a huge positive for us, and further adding to the treasury. We are fully funded for exploration. We have a healthy operating position and in a jurisdiction that's very low cost to advance these assets, to drill. Part of the reason our share prices performed this year is because of drilling and hitting consistently with the drill rig. We did the first ever drilling onto our expansion area with 4 holes completed in December. Those results were out in February, and we hit high grade mineralization, 3 meters of 19 grams per ton gold, just below surface, 6 meters below surface, within a broader zone that's over 100 meters wide, averaging 0.6. That was an excellent first indication for us. We're actually drilling back on that pad today. The drill's been parked there, doing follow-up holes on that initial hit there, as well as doing drilling across the northern fence onto that expansion area. So lots more results to come on that front. And beyond that, we did a core program to understand the geology, build out our model for the resource estimate that we have planned for later this year. That was extremely successful in infill drilling through our main zone, hitting high-grade mineralization throughout, stepping out and testing some of our parallel trends, and hitting high-grade mineralization, which were a bit of a surprise for us in some cases, and also stepping out and finding more mineralization. So all of those are extremely positive as we move this forward. The catalyst as we move ahead are the test mine. I think that's going to be a big one for us that we're starting to move through that process right now. Continued expansion drilling with the drill on site today. And that's all going into a mineral resource estimate that we have penned for later this year. We want to put that straight into a PEA because we think with today's gold price, this is a very compelling asset to advance through production. And that's really what we want to showcase as we continue. To go over some of those drill highlights from this year so far, the core drilling was a tremendous success, hitting high-grade mineralization across the property, 9.7 meters of 10 grams. That included 1.5 meters of 60 grams per ton. That's in the photo in the bottom of the slide here. Just an incredible result. That's the highest grade interval that we have ever hit, and the highest grade hit since the Lundins were there in 1996. So just incredible to see that result, and just showing the potential for that high grade blended with the low grade that's across the system here. And that's really what makes Pilar special, is that you have high grade mineralization with adjacent low grade that makes up a bigger bulk tonnage target, and all of that is exposed right at surface. Very easy to get to, and that's really what's created this exciting target for us to continue to advance and grow on. I think the most significant hole this year has been the 300 meter step out on our North Hill trend to the east of what we call our main zone. That hit 3 meters of 21 grams per ton gold, 200 grams per ton silver. That's just below surface, just 8 meters below surface. This was a follow-up on a zone where we just wanted to understand the geology better. We had hit in the past 2 years ago, 2 zones, 20 meters of 0.6, and we really just wanted to understand what was going on. We did not expect to come through a high-grade intercept like that, which completely opens up that trend for that type of potential, which was just an incredible result to see. And then we stepped 70 meters south from our main zone and hit mineralization. The significance here is that we thought mineralization was cut off, and we thought it actually jogged then off to the east. And we were looking for, in the past, that correlation with drilling further to the east of the main zone. It looks like really we should have just stepped directly south from the onset, which we've been able to test with this latest round of drilling. That hit a high-grade zone, 2.6 meters of 7 grams per ton gold. A duplicate, a half-core duplicate through that actually returned 18 grams per ton gold. So showing that variability of high-grade mineralization within it. But again, a broad envelope of lower-grade mineralization over close to 50 meters wide through that. So incredible result to see. And then back to the RC drilling that we had the results out in February. This was the first ever drilling onto the expansion area, 3 meters and 19 grams. Just an incredible surprise, really, for us. We weren't expecting that type of high-grade mineralization. And the drill is back on that pad right now, following up. We actually did some mapping around the area, found an old underground shaft that was chasing high-grade mineralization on this same trend. And so we pointed the drill at it and started testing that. And I think we're going to have some exciting results coming down the pipe later in May and June as we start to see those results come back. We also did a scout hole in those first holes that were completed back in December. One return, this is 180 meters away from the 3 meters of 19 grams gold. One return 16 meters of 0.4, which doesn't sound that exciting, but it's significant in that this is a big step out and we're seeing mineralization, and we followed up with the drill on that hole. Those results we're actually expecting very soon. Those were submitted at the lab about 3 weeks ago, so we should have those fairly quickly here. And it'll be exciting to see what we see around that hole, because again, this is another big step out from known mineralized trends. All of that positive news has really been, great for our share price. We're up 100% over the last year in comparison with other ETFs that are gold focused. We're outperforming them, which is an excellent thing to see because of the basket of those ETFs. They're pulling from companies that are quite sizable. They have established big multi-million ounce resources, and we're outperforming them. And I think that's an exceptional thing and something that we're looking to continue as we grow and develop from here. Sonora, for those that aren't familiar with Sonora, this is an incredible mining jurisdiction. It is one of the top mining jurisdictions in the world, and you only have to look at who's there to understand that. We're surrounded by big producers. Fresnillo, the biggest silver producer in the world. was the biggest gold producer in Mexico until Torex took that title from them. Alamos Gold has their Mulatos mine 80 kilometers east of us that produces 120,000 ounces a year. Agnico Eagle is quite present in the area. They have La India, which is a mine that actually is just going offline right now. But they're quite established in that jurisdiction. We've got a Cisco 20 kilometers to the north of us with an old copper mine that has gold credits that they have. And then La Colorada, which was Argonaut Gold. Heliostar has taken that on of late and has had success with some early drilling there around the established pit. And we think that's an exciting thing to see kind of a revival of a lot of these assets around us. And then 50 kilometers east, we've got another mid-tier with Minera Alamos and their Santana mine, modest production, but it makes money. And that's really what we're looking to do, is be in a jurisdiction that's very low cost to build and develop mines and very low cost to operate them. And we think that's an extremely attractive thing. We've always thought it was an extremely attractive thing, even when gold was at $1,800 an ounce. Now it's over $3,200. It's a world that I think a lot of folks don't really understand that value proposition, and that's why we're here. Our projects are a 2-hour drive from the city, Hermosillo. Hermosillo has a population just under 1 million. That's where our office is. That's where our entire technical staff live. Very accessible to the project. 2-hour drive on paved highway, 20 minutes on gravel to get out to site. Great community support. We have a small village just 6 miles away from us, and that's where a lot of our working staff comes from. We've been part of that community for the last 4 years, and everyone's pushing for development to improve their quality of life. And because of the history of mining here, everyone appreciates and understands it, and that's a key thing when you're looking to develop projects. Looking at Mexico and really the performance of other mid-tier level companies around us, what we're striving to become. And I think it's an exciting thing to look how a lot of these have performed over the last year. And that's during a time of a lot of uncertainty, really, in Mexico, with the election last year, with some things being said about banning or slowing down of mining. We don't think that's the case at all. We're seeing actually an improvement of the permitting scheduling as we move forward and things advance with the new administration. And you only have to look at these other companies to understand that Heliostar has been a big performer, taking on Argonaut Gold's old assets. Luca, established further south in Mexico, but been a great performer with production there. And then Discovery Silver is a really interesting one because they're looking to develop what will be one of the biggest open pit silver mines in the world. And they don't have a permit yet. Again, that's going to be a huge development. It's in Chihuahua State, just directly east of us. And they're at a $2 billion market cap. So, that's the opportunity that we present, is we think we have a lot of growth potential as we continue to move through this space. The key thing is that, and really what differentiates us other than, market cap today is also shares issued. We're sitting here today with 60 million shares issued. A lot of these companies are looking at 200 million plus. And I think that's going to be something that we can really benefit from, and our shareholders can benefit from as we continue to grow. And this is just looking at that growth potential gap that we see present today. We're going through the same progression that Minera Alamos did as they built out Santana. And we think that's a logical re-rate for us as we continue to grow. And, Minera Alamos is a fantastic company, has multiple assets, but the only producing one today is Santana, which is 50 kilometers east of us. And, we think we can go through that same progression in advance. And we think we have an asset that really stands out in terms of its overall potential. And that really takes us back to the story of how we started and where we want to take things from here. So, where we started when we looked at this project initially was discovered by the Lundins in 1996. All the past work was focused in one area on the bottom left of this image. That's where all the work has been concentrated up until recently, until the last year. And when we first looked at that, we loved the potential of it, but we knew we needed to expand it. And the key part of expanding it was being able to consolidate a sizable land position around us. We were able to negotiate that last year and start to explore on it. Now, the other interesting part of the history here is that this area was explored by Phelps Dodge in the early 90s. They were looking for copper. They found a small copper deposit to the south of us, 4 kilometers south. They weren't really looking for gold and silver, so they weren't really assessing that at all. And so this whole area was thought to be reviewed. It wasn't really for the gold silver potential. What we knew is that there was placer mining activity to the north of us that seemed to be quite significant, that we knew wasn't coming from this established area we call our main zone in the south. It was coming from something else. And we started to explore on that last year. And really, we've only explored half of what we call our southern block, this southern area here. But what we're finding is an immediate extension of mineralization to the north. We're finding parallel zones of quartz veining, of mineralized fault structures, of breccias immediately east of us that are sizable targets that have full road access to them now, and that we can get into and start drilling on. And that's what we're looking to do from here. We're drilling currently just onto the northern boundary, onto that expansion area today, and we're going to continue to progress and move north with the drill rig. And then to the east, there's another 1.5 kilometers further east that we haven't even sampled yet. So half of this south block we haven't even sampled on it. There's equally potential for to find mineralization across that, which is very exciting. And then what's really interesting is 5 kilometers to the north, we have an area in our north block we call the North Alteration Zone. This is a curious thing in that we think that this is a separate second mineralized system. Epithermal system has a different structural orientation to it. We see it going more in an east-west direction here. We've only got a handful of samples in it so far, but those are showing very encouraging results for gold and silver. First sample we took was a 2-meter chip of 5 grams gold, 100 grams silver. 2 kilometers away from that on trend, we found an old mine working, 3 grams gold, 1,200 grams per ton silver. Looking at the geochemistry, it looks like we're high up in an epithermal. This is a great target to hit at depth. When we put information out about this last year, a major producer reached out to us, spent 6 weeks on site. So we know we have something that's of interest. It's early and we want to build out our understanding of it so we understand what the value of it is first. And that's going to come through continued exploration, which we're excited to do. I think there's tons of potential to completely open this thing up and really unlock multi-million ounce targets. That's what we're looking to do across here, because as we go through permitting for full-scale development, we know we have an established zone that we can start with, but we want to show longevity of mine life as we continue to grow. And that's by starting to test these targets as we advance. It's been a long path to lead to today. I think we've done a great job in creating value as we've moved through this. It's been a difficult market to navigate. It's still shocking really today to kind of look at the price of gold, and we're still waiting for a true gold market to form. And I think it's coming. It's just going to take a bit more time for that to develop. And while we're waiting for that, we're continuing to grow and build this into something I think that's quite exciting. From here, we're waiting on RC results. We're expecting those to roll out through May and June, potentially into early July. As we're going through that, we're starting the permitting process for the test mine. As of Wednesday, we had a mine engineer on site who was basically coming up with a plan on layout for the infrastructure for the pilot plant. That's all going into a report that goes and is part of our submission for the pilot mine permit that we're expecting to go in the middle of this month. And then our expectation there is a very quick turnaround on that permit so that we can start to initiate that whole process. in tandem with that, and part of that permitting is permitting across the expansion area, across the south block and north block, for trenching and drilling, so we can start to unlock those broader targets as well, which we're very excited to start to showcase that potential. And really looking at the exploration potential there, again, all of the past work's been focused in, and really the past drilling's been focused in a half square kilometer area, just on the west side of this image here. We're now drilling onto the northern extension of that. We've been hitting, the first drill holes have hit. The last round of drilling that we're waiting for results on, we're seeing strong indications that we're seeing the right structures and types of mineralization, waiting for results. And I think we'll be able to share the first batch of results of those very quickly here. And then as you continue to the north, there's excellent potential that we can see in the rock and the soil chemistry. And as we move to the east, where we're at the bigger source area for this placer environment that we see kind of snaking up through the creek valley here, up into this eastern portion, there's a big area that has never been tested with drilling. It has road access to it now. We think this is a very compelling target. We're seeing great indications in the geology. We're seeing old artisanal mining shafts that typically chased high grade. So all excellent indications that there's something sizable and multiple targets to go after here. And then again, a kilometer and a half to the east, we haven't even sampled it yet. And I think there's going to be great potential to continue to advance, because there were the start of placer mine workings creeping up that valley to the east of us as well. So showing that there's potential in this area. So we're very excited to continue to advance that. What we're looking to do is continue to map and sample across this entire area. We're looking to do a drone magnetic survey to help us identify key structures that may coincide with the mineralization that we're seeing, just to help with drill targeting. And again, we're permitting for drilling across this entire area, which I think if we're successful in hitting, it's going to be a tremendous thing to see develop. And the significance of hitting mineralization a kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers away from what we call our main zone, I think is going to be a tremendous catalyst for our shareholders as we continue to develop these targets. Now moving 5 kilometers north to the north block, in this big alteration zone, this kind of pixelated colored cells that you see, that's aster data. So that's spectral data taken from a satellite, where you can interpret what you're seeing on the surface for certain minerals, and specifically clay minerals that tend to be associated with epithermal systems. And what's really curious is that this area in the north lights up when you look at that aster data. The area to the south, we don't see it as much, and we think that's because we're deeper in the system there. Here, we think we're higher up in an epithermal. It also has a different structural orientation to it. So we think that this is a separate mineralized system to what we see to the south, albeit equally has that potential for growth. We've only just done a quick reconnaissance on this area, because we wanted to understand, is it tied to mineralization? It is. We've seen that in multiple samples where we're seeing high grade gold and silver. These are great targets. We have 2 areas, the ones that are highlighted here, that we are going to be targeting with the drill as we get those permits back. And I think those are going to be very exciting targets, because if we're high up in an epithermal, that means this has a lot of depth potential. And as we test this with the drill rig, I think it'll be very exciting. This is 3.2 kilometers long. It's a kilometer and a half wide. It's sizable. And that's what has us really excited about this area. Again, detailed mapping, sampling is to come, coupled with the magnetic survey to better understand the structure, and then some scout drilling, likely in the fall, to start to understand what that potential is. Now, beyond the exploration, there's the other important thing and exciting thing that we're looking to move through this year, and that's the pilot mine. In 2023, we did a bulk sample that we operated offsite. We poured 2 kilos of doré off of that. That was material taken from our main zone, approximately 1,500 tons. And what we're looking to do is to do something bigger on site with scale that has the potential to generate cash. And that's really what we're looking at to highlight here. Also looking to optimize the recovery through heap leach, and what we're planning for an initial rendition of the pilot mine to test the heap leach component of it, which is the lowest cost way to operate and build these mines. And then on the back of that, we're looking potentially in 2026 to do a second rendition of the pilot mine where we do gravity and an agitated leach cell to test that and compare it to what we see with the heap leaching. So this is an exciting thing. We're just going through the initial phases of getting everything together for the permit application. We've been building up towards that until now. But finally, we're kind of making those steps to put everything in place. So we're very excited to kind of walk through this process. And as we get the permit back, we'll be looking to start to build out the infrastructure, clear the area for the pad, start doing the trenching, opening up the ground, sampling what's there in those trenches that will go and get transported for crushing ultimately, and then stacked on our heap leach pad and leached. And as we start this process, we're expecting it to take about 7 months in total to go through everything and all the way back again to a doré pour, which in this market environment we think is something that is exciting. It's something that differentiates our company from many of the pure explorers, and I think it shows the market our mindset that we want to produce. We want to grow and develop this project on our own. We think we can do that. We have the team to do it. We've shown we can do it on a smaller scale. This is the next step up. And ultimately, all this information is going in towards full-scale mine permitting that we're planning to start to put together that application at the end of this year, again, on the back of the mineral resource estimate and the PEA, and start that process because ultimately what we want to do is build a mine that can build up towards 50,000 ounce per year production. And in today's environment, when gold at $3,200, all-in sustaining costs for a lot of the operators around us is around and just over $1,000 an ounce. So they're making significant amounts of money. And then looking at the capex to build a full-scale mine, we're looking at comparables around us that range between 15 and 20 million US to build. So we're looking at putting something together that has a very quick payback, that has size to it, that has tons of potential to grow. And that's really the focus here is build something that has growth to it. And the key thing there is that we could go and drill right now 100,000 meters across the entire property. There's enough targets there to merit that. However, that would dilute our shareholder base. And really what we want to do is get this thing permitted, continue to test those targets to identify where they are and how significant they are while we wait for those permits to come back. But ultimately, as we build out those resources down the road, we'll be focused on using capital generated from the mine. And that's our focus point, is to keep the share structure intact as we move through that process. And that, again, we've been around for 5 years. We've got 60 million shares issued. That is not an easy thing to do. That's taken a lot of discipline to go through that. We've got 3 million of working capital thanks to our very supportive shareholders out there. We do have a few warrants out there, but 5 million Canadian of those are in the money right now, priced at 50 and 60 cents. We're starting to see those get exercised. I think we'll continue to see that as we move through this progression. And we're in an excellent place. It's been a journey over the last 5 years, coming out 10 cents with 10 million shares, finding our asset, which was, the start of Pilar, drilling there for the first time, hitting with drilling, continuing to hit. Early 2021, our share price peaked at $1.67. I mean, that was backed by good drill results, a tight share structure, and general market sentiment, which we haven't seen since that time. And I think if we see that general market sentiment come back to the mining sector, that can have a tremendous impact on companies like Tocvan. And I think we're coming into a space where that very well could take full shape. So, I think we're in an excellent position here. We've got a lot of results coming, a lot of catalysts down the road here that'll be exciting. And I think this is really just the beginning for us in terms of our growth and how we want to continue to advance this asset and build something that has incredible value in a time where gold is still underappreciated. Even though the price of gold has doubled since we formed the company, the market still hasn't gravitated towards mining. And I think that's a key thing here, is that the mining sector is tiny in comparison to a lot of the other sectors, compared to tech and other spaces. And it doesn't take a lot of new capital to come into mining to really support and buoy up a lot of the quality companies. And I think that's really the advantage that we can take moving forward from here, is that gold has been performing. The majors are starting to put out incredible quarterlies, and I think that'll continue with high gold and low oil prices. And I think we're well positioned to take the full advantage of that opportunity. So definitely stay tuned for more news. We are expecting drill results very quickly here, and then more information coming out about the pilot and going through that permitting process, the startup of it, and proceeding from there. So thank you for your time, and from there I'll jump into Q&A and see if there's any questions that people want answered.
Yeah, we had a ton of really great questions come through. Some of them you just answered during the presentation, which is great.
Sure.
First question was, what do you think the major's main focus was upon spending 6 weeks on Grand Pilar?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think they wanted to kind of get a sense of what was there and what the potential was. I think the time they were on the ground, we had really just a few samples across the area. We've taken literally hundreds and hundreds more since then. And I think, their perspective, they want to understand what's there and see how, our understanding of it grows over time. And, from our perspective is, we know that they operate on slightly different timelines than we do. They can be patient. And the reality is that, we think we've got something that's very significant that we're just starting to unravel. I think the more and more we showcase that potential, the more and more they're going to be interested. So, whether there's an opportunity for a strategic partnership down the road, we'll see. But I think, we're coming from a point of strength where, we think there's tons of upside here. We've got the cash to continue to advance it. And, we don't want to discount our shareholders and the value that we can create as we move through that at this time. So, I think realistically in the next, 2 years, as we get a full mine permitted here and completely de-risk the project as we advance it and test these other targets, I would be very surprised if one of them isn't interested in what we have built. But again, I think there's still a lot of value to be had by us going down the development path as well.
Definitely. And along that vein, what's your outlook on the M&A activity in the gold and silver mining space?
It's definitely, you're seeing heat up. It's you're seeing a lot of the kind of mid-tier level companies, seeing a few mergers, seeing some acquisitions. Core just bought Silvercrest for their Sonoran asset for $1.7 billion. You're definitely seeing very strong indications that that's heating up. Like everything in our space, you see that, first get initiated on the higher levels for the majors, the mid-tiers, and then that trickles down to the smaller companies like Tocvan. So I think it's a matter of time before we see more activity on that level, but all very encouraging and to be expected. You've got a commodity that's it's traded off of late, but gold at $3,200 is a powerful thing.
Definitely. Quite a few questions about the pilot plant. I think everyone's excited about that. What's the anticipated throughput?
Yeah, we're looking to process up to 50,000 tons. Looking at that, kind of being conservative with our models on grade and recovery. We think we can recover close to 1,000 ounces of gold off of that, close to 5,000 ounces of silver. If we're successful in doing that, we have CapEx and OpEx, all in budgeted cost for it for 1.5 million, with an added contingency on that. And that's 1.5 million US. With today's commodity prices, if we're successful in doing that, it's a cash generating event for us, which I think is an exciting thing. And again, it's all about being able to showcase what the potential of this project is. If we can show that you can make money on that small of a scale, imagine what you can do, if you're doing close to 10,000 tons a day in processing on site. So, we're excited about it as well. The biggest thing for us is that, it's a big process. We want to do it right. We're being very mindful and diligent as we go through that process. We're very fortunate to have a great team around us and great support from local contractors that can help through that whole process. So, it was encouraging. On Wednesday, we had a mine engineer on site that was kind of reviewing everything to put it together a report as part of our permit. And, they've, verbally we're kind of looking at everything and saying this, there's no flags here. It looks like this is quite an easy place to set things up and get it rolling. The biggest thing for us is site selection, is making sure we put that in the right spot. Obviously, we don't want to build anything where we haven't drilled yet. There could be mineralization below us. But we're fortunate we've got a barren granodiorite geological unit to the west of us and to the north that is perfect for setting up this type of process facility, because that granite is typically fairly tight in terms of fluids flowing through it, and that's exactly what you want when you're building a pad where you're leaching the rock you're stacking on it. And so it's all been very positive. We've been very tactful, I think, in terms of timing. We've been watching the market closely. We've been excited with the performance of gold, but I don't think it's going to. I think it was due for this kind of step back from 3,500 to 3,200. But I don't think it's done here. I think we'll still continue to see strength in that space. And this is also the prime time for us to be drilling, and we really want to focus on that. But as that starts to wrap up, we'll be going full force on this pilot, which we're really excited to go through the process and see what we have. And I think the one thing that has me kind of excited and really curious is when we did the bulk sample in 2023, we weren't really sure what the head grade was going to be. And, we took material from 4 select sites across the project. Most of it came from what we call our main zone. One came from another area called 4T. And, what was really interesting is that the head grade calculated from channel sampling through the trenches came back with 1.9 gram per ton gold. The average grade coming from splits that we took off the conveyor belt from the crusher on a consistent basis, those all average 1.9 gram per ton gold. And then the grade calculated from the leaching process itself came back with 1.9 gram per ton gold. So, that's very encouraging. It's, we don't expect to see that high of grade across, the broader project as you continue to grow and expand things. But I think it's also indicative of what you see in a system like Grand Pilar, where you have this high grade mineralization that does boost your overall grade as you come across it and extract it. So with the pilot, we're obviously, there's a lot of things that we're excited about, but I think it's really going to help showcase what the true grade of Grand Pilar is. And that's going to be an exciting thing to watch.
Very cool. And on that note, someone asked, how long do you expect it to take to get to that full production capacity?
Full production, yeah. So for the pilot itself, like we've got slated in our timeline about 7 months once we start that process to go, from extraction to doré pour. So that's looking at that timeline. We're looking at once we submit our permit for full scale mining, which is in essence an environmental impact assessment. Our expectation that it'll take about 18 months to go through that process for permitting. That could speed up. Pre-COVID, you could go through that permitting process within 9 months. And really just due to lack of staff and the election last year, we've seen that slow down. However, I think there's been some very strong indicators that permitting process could be speeding up again. And if it is, then, we can go through that much quicker. The nice thing is that while we're waiting for that, we have a lot of work to do across the project to kind of showcase what the bigger potential is. And I think that's going to be obviously driving it, some like the exciting catalyst as we move forward. And like I mentioned before, we're looking at this pilot mine and the infrastructure there is something that we can utilize while we wait for that full scale permit to understand and optimize the metallurgy across the project, because we've shown in the past, with studies looking at gravity and agitated leach, we can get over 95% recovery of the gold and up to 93% recovery of the silver, which is exceptionally high for silver. So that could be a plausible route that we go in terms of build. It does mean a more expensive mine build if that's the setup that we have, and it does mean more cost with water consumption and electricity. However, that might be offset by the sheer increase in recovery that we get from it. So, there's all those steps to go through as we grow. But again, as a 40 million market cap company today, with tons of exploration upside and going through this development path, I think we've shown by some of the comparables that there's definitely a lot of room for us to grow.
Sure. There's a lot of people are excited about the test pilot mine. Do you have any thoughts on why more companies don't pursue this?
I think it's the first thing is permitting. You need to be in a jurisdiction where there's a way to permit things of this scale. I think we're fortunate stuff of this size is kind of grouped in with exploration within Sonora. So that allows us access to get that permitted on a quicker timeline than most jurisdictions. So that's key. The second is that we're very fortunate to have a deposit that's at surface, exposed on a low rolling hill that's had 30 years of trenching and roads cut through it. So we've got great access to it. That just makes it all that viable. And there's the third component. Really, it's having people, contractors and our technical staff there to support it. And being in Sonora, an established mining jurisdiction, it's very refreshing that everything we need is in essence a 2-hour drive away from the project, and that makes all of this possible. And we couldn't be more excited about that. And I mean, that's the key reason why we've made Sonora home for us, is we feel that this is one of the top mining jurisdictions in the world, and a lot of ways it gets underappreciated, but also in a lot of ways this is where mines are built. So I mean, that's exactly where you want to be.
Definitely. And you have mentioned it multiple times throughout the webinar, but we do have some questions on how are you approaching community relations? What's the general sentiment around that?
No, great question. So we've got a local village called Suwaki Grande. It's about 6 miles away from the project. About 900 people total for population. It's a ranching community primarily. The community's been there for 400 years because of mining. That's really what brought them there, what settled them there, as these high grade gold silver prospects that are kind of riddled across our property and the extended area. great, fantastic people, tremendous support. There's a community association there made up of 16 families that help dictate how the land is used around us, and we've got a great relationship with them. We've been part of that community for the last 4.5 years plus, and we have a house there. We've the majority of our workers come from that village, and they've been very supportive. They want to see development because it's going to improve their quality of life. And being in the desert, this type of environment, there isn't a lot of opportunities out there. And I think it's also looking at the history of mining in Sonora. They understand it, they appreciate it, and we want to be there to kind of help and improve their quality of life as we develop this thing. So to date, it's been very supportive, and we couldn't be happier with that.
It's great to hear. And talking about relationships, can you discuss your relations with the placer miners and how the pilot plant may strengthen that relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the placer miners they're family of our workers. So, we kind of consider them a family in a lot of ways. But there's several groups that are currently active in the area, not on our property currently, but it kind of further off to the west of us, and they've been really active over the last couple of years. And we have to credit part of what we've been able to uncover quickly on the South Block to the work that they did, because they've gone into an area. They're working up these dry creek beds with an excavator, and then they have to move that material, screen it, move it off site to where they have water, which is quite a ways away down the road. And the work that they've done has shown us that there's much more potential around us, that something's shedding all this gold into these creeks, and that whatever is shedding it is exposed right at surface. So that's really helped with our exploration. We've got a great relationship with them. They're part of that community that's close by, and they have support of that community as well. So I think that relationship's been great. Obviously, in some cases you look at that as a potential concern or a conflict, but in this case, I think there's a kind of symbiotic relationship there that's been able to develop. I think as things grow, like one of the opportunities we've looked at with the pilot and continuing to develop the project is that there are these other placer opportunities in the region that they're continuing to evaluate and develop themselves. And they're moving it to where they have a sluice box, which is basically a table where they run water over it to trap the gold with gravity. That's very low recovery off that. In some cases, some of these operators they'll use mercury to assist with increasing the recovery, which potentially contaminates the environment. We think we can present an opportunity that they could bring material to us, and we could increase that recovery significantly for them, lower their transport costs, being closer, and ultimately create a win-win scenario for all involved. So we'll continue to evaluate that as we grow, but there's definitely that opportunity around us because there's quite a bit of activity.
Yeah, for sure. So on that vein, do you have any interest in acquiring producing assets that may make sense to grow your annual production profile once you are cash flow positive?
Yeah, definitely. I think if a major hasn't come in and bought us out for a sizable amount down the road, we'll definitely be looking to grow. And the great part of having a team that's based in Sonora and Hermosillo is that we get to keep our finger on the pulse of a lot of the other assets around us. There's quite a few in this area that they're not huge in terms of resource size today, but they've got great potential to advance and build out and produce off of. And we'll continue to evaluate those as we grow. We do have our secondary asset, which is, more kind of earlier exploration at Picacho, but it's got tremendous potential to it. We drilled there once in 2022. It had a discovery. It's right next to a past producing open pit mine, San Francisco. There's lots of opportunity around that area as well. So we're open to evaluating everything. Obviously, our key focus right now is Grand Pilar, and we've got lots to do there. But as we grow as a company, I think having the team and the timing to build something sizable, everything seems to be aligning perfectly. So.
Great. And then we talked a lot about Grand Pilar, and obviously that's the primary focus. Can you speak at all to some of the other projects that Tocvan has?
Yeah, so I touched lately there on Picacho. So this is a sizable area. It's 24 square kilometers. We've got 7 kilometers of prospective trend that's defined by artisanal workings across that. And in 2022, we drilled on one of those targets there's an old underground drive that goes 90 meters underground, chasing high grade on a shear zone. We drilled around that. Actually, the best hole was a 100-meter step out from that, testing it at depth, and but still close to surface. Hitting, I think there was 12 meters of 2 grams within a broader zone. I think that's an asset that we'll look to continue to move forward with. We're currently looking at kind of rejigging our current agreement on it, just given that we've been so focused at Grand Pilar. So we're encouraged with the conversations that we've had so far that we can do that. And, I think it's something that will provide more strength for the portfolio down the road, given its size and its potential. And it's been a difficult thing to have so much success at Grand Pilar and not be able to focus on Picacho, because it's equally as prospective and has that real potential there. But we'll continue to evaluate that over time.
Great. And is there any interest in acquiring properties rather outside of Mexico, or are you just trying to stay fixated on the Sonora region?
Oh, I don't think there's a need to for us. We've got a great team that we've built here in Mexico. We're very comfortable and confident there, especially in Sonora. And I think for Tocvan and our model and how we want to grow, this is the place we want to be. So no, we're not looking outside of Mexico. That's our home.
Yeah. And we didn't necessarily touch too much on the team. Could you kind of expand on who's on the ground, what's their background, pieces?
So we've got Rodrigo Calles Montillo. He's our chief geo director of the company. He's been with us for over 4 years now. His background is, he's from Sonora. He's actually born, 400 meters from the La Colorada open pit, right in the town there. He trained and worked internationally for Rio Tinto and Kennecott. Actually had a big hard rock lithium discovery in Serbia with them, and came back to Sonora eventually. Built a technical team around him, and that's our team today. And Rodrigo's a big part of the team and getting things done. I think it's very important to have a team that this is their backyard. They understand the geology. They understand how to operate here. They understand how to communicate. That's been vital for us. We also have Luis Manuel Dominguez. He's a mine engineer with 50 years of experience in Mexico. So just a huge depth of knowledge that we can draw from, well-connected, works for and has formed a founder of an environmental consultancy that primarily assists with mine development. And so that's really going to help us down the road here. And then, the technical team that we have around us, it's our key project geos have now close to 20 years of experience operating here. Again, a big part of our success. And, we're lucky that we have the University of Sonora in Hermosillo that we can draw from for new geologists that are, coming into the space and get them experience. that's been also very successful for us in growing the team.
Great. And I'm merging these two questions because we're running tight on time. One, did the major make an offer? And then two, are you open to a takeover if the offer is right?
Yeah, no, it's they did not make an offer. I mean, it's early for that, so I mean that's down the road. Yeah, well, definitely open for a takeout offer, but we know what the value of the gold in the ground is here, and we've got a strong sense of what the upside potential can be. So that number, it's sizable, and they have to come to the table with something serious. Otherwise, I mean, the value's there for us to build and create shareholder value through that development. So definitely, but come with a sharp pencil.
Great. So we are out of time, and we want to be respectful of everyone on the call. But we have all your emails. So if you did throw a question in the chat and we can get time to answer it, we will message you via email privately. Be sure to take our post-webinar survey. That makes sure that any future webinars we do are as amazing as possible. And also, if you haven't already, be sure to sign up for our Tocvan newsletter. Thank you so much, Brody, and thank you everyone for coming. We really appreciate your time. And I think I'm going to sneak in one last question. What are you most excited about for 2025? I feel like we talked about a lot of exciting catalysts, but what's most exciting for you personally?
In 2023, when we poured that bit of Doré, I mean, that was, for me, I mean, it was an exciting time, even though it was, 2 kilos wasn't a huge amount. It definitely gives you a bit of a bug. Like you all of a sudden, that's kind of what you want to live for. So, I'm excited to do that again. I think that's going to be fun to go through that entire process, to go through it. But, honestly, I'm also explorer at heart, and we've got these targets, that North Alteration Zone, some of the others. I'm really interested to see what we hit, when we start drilling those. And if we're successful, I think to me, that'll be just really game changing in terms of our full potential and how we can grow. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about gold. I mean, we're excited about that and the opportunities that we have right now. And I mean, it's like having two, me, I've got too many kids now, but it's like having two kids. You can't really decide, on the exploration or the pilot, which one you love more. But really going to be looking forward to seeing both of those fronts progress as we grow. So.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Brody. Thanks so much, everyone. We're a little over now. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye. Thanks, Brittany. Thanks, everyone. Bye.